Yeah, thanks for talking to us, Kristian. Could you start by introducing yourself, telling us it is what you do?
Sure, yeah. My name is Kristian Segerstrale. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Director at Super Evil Megacorp, and I go under the in-game name Ed the Shred.
Okay, excellent. Cool. Okay, so could you tell us a bit about Vainglory and sort of how popular it's become and what sets it apart from other MOBAs?
Sure, so Vainglory is a 3 versus 3 MOBA on touchscreens. So we at Super Evil Megacorp are all grew up as PC gamers, and what we tried to do with Vainglory is really bring that kind of visceral, deep, tactical, strategic gameplay onto touchscreens. So, and we have a console-grade game engine called the Evil Engine that can deliver 60 frames per second, very high quality graphics and very fast response controls on the touchscreens. And what we really try and do is to deliver that experience that we grew up with of lugging around our PC to a friend's house, playing all night as a LAN party. And today with touchscreens, you can sort of do that anywhere, and that's kind of what we're building. And Vainglory has had an incredible start over the past year with like the North America Championships, for example, last weekend, having more than 1 million stream views. And that was up from about 300,000 just 3 months ago. So overall, the game's grown great. We've had a wonderful community that's helped us balance it out and work out how to foster the competitive scene in the broader community as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the sort of eSports scene. You know, what's that like in particular, and how big is it sort of globally? You know, how many viewers do you have?
Yeah, so the Vainglory esports scene is still incredibly early. To be honest, we focused from the start on creating a game that we would want to play ourselves competitively, and that would have that would be worthy, if you like, of a core gamer's time. We didn't think too much about esports, but one of the things that's been clear over the past year is that the community really, really loves playing the game competitively, and that's kind of spawned a tournament scene that has grown really quickly. So the very first really produced Vainglory tournament took place about 8 months ago in Korea, the World Invitational, and since then the game has exploded onto the tournament scene in China, in Japan, in North America, and in Europe, and now even in South America. And last year altogether, we had, I think, over 20 million stream views for the game. But then, as I said, last weekend, it was over 1 million just that weekend alone. So things have grown pretty quickly, but we still feel it's incredibly early. We have tons of work to do to expand the game and to make it better and to help support the competitive scene in general.
Would you consider launching a regular sort of league or tournament in the UK specifically? Because I know guys like Gfinity and ESL do have those leagues for other games like CSGO and League of Legends. You know, is that something that's on your radar locally at this level?
Yeah, so we would love to. We actually think there's a big opportunity sort of being more local with these esports leagues. Right now, the European tournament scene for us is really pan-European, but as we've seen today, Angry Pandas is actually, is a top 8 European team, and they are English. So there is a ton of talent, and there are other players as part of the broader international teams that are also English. And here in Europe, we have Team Secret, SK Gaming, G2 Esports, all field Vainglory teams today, and there's no reason why we couldn't build out a bigger, deeper UK tournament scene. We simply are literally 7 months old as an esport, so we kind of take one step at a time.
It's good to see like some of the UK players emerging as well. There's one chap I interviewed today, 13 years old. You know, what do you think about that? Oh, I wanted to ask about that actually as well, because some other games have restrictions. You know, you need to be sort of 16, 17 years old to enter the tournaments. Is that right? Do I understand there's no sort of age restrictions for Vainglory? Maybe you could tell us a bit about how that's getting people into the game.
Yeah, so I guess there is an age restriction for Vainglory, which is about 8, I believe, in the App Store. So it's an 8+ game right now. But we do try to be approachable right now. We love the fact that a lot of families play Vainglory together, and from that perspective, we haven't seen a reason to impose any kind of an age limit for playing the game for fun. Of course, more professional teams like, say, Team Solomed or TSM in the North America, Team Secret, G2 Esports and others, if you look at their rosters, they probably don't have many 12-year-olds, because once you get more seriously into the game, probably you will have a slightly older roster because of the time commitment and things. But we have some incredibly mechanically strong 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds playing, and it's sometimes really fun when you see them cause carnage in a match against like people twice their age.
Oh, that's brilliant. Would you encourage maybe pro gamers in the UK who are focused on League of Legends and Dota 2 to give Vainglory a go, you know, to help grow that scene? Is there a bit of a crossover there? Would it be easier for them to embrace it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you play other MOBAs on PCs, you will probably find Vainglory fairly straightforward to pick up, and because the tournament scene is still very young, probably you will have a leg up over some folks who are still learning basic MOBA gameplay. And in fact, many of them many of the high-level competitive players have come from a league background. That said, it doesn't grant you automatic success. Like there has been a bunch of, say, Korean and North American teams who have come from like XA League Challenger Series type teams who've gotten together in Vainglory, and they don't automatically qualify. Many of them have gotten or not qualified to the live event. So Vainglory does require a fair amount of Vainglory specific investment to do well, but then a lot of the reflexes and basic MOBA thinking in terms of when to engage and when to push further and when to pull back and when to think about objectives and rotations and builds and all that kind of stuff all of that thinking will translate well to Vainglory.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. And the prize pool here is a little higher than some of the other tournaments that take place in the UK scene. You know, are you hoping for that to sort of increase in the future? And what are your thoughts on the Vainglory eSports scene going forwards as well? You know, how do you think it can grow?
Yeah, so the total prize pool for all of last year for Vainglory was about $350,000, and the prize pool here for the European Finals event is about $25,000. The total season prize pool, if you like, was about $70,000 when we run these quarterly seasons. We obviously hope and believe and trust that that is growing over time. The vast majority of the prize pools are supplied by sponsors, so to some degree all of that will depend on how quickly the game grows. We've been very lucky to work with big sponsors like Amazon and Red Bull, for example, hosted our Winter Championships in North America. We also had NVIDIA very closely involved, and as more consumer brands get involved in Vainglory eSports, I think we're going to see both the productions, the venues, the prize pools, all of that increase. But to be honest, what we are mostly focused on is to ensure that people who invest time into Vainglory don't just have the opportunity to compete for big prize pools, but also we can help them become content creators inside of the Vainglory community in such a way that they can get lasting revenue from sponsorships and from other forms of, if you like, endorsements and things aside from just prize pools. So we think prize pools are important, but frankly, the ongoing economics of how do you create a happy, sustainable esports team is important. And again, we're very early, but we do work very closely with team captains and team owners around the world to understand how best to evolve the ecosystem in such a way that we can support very sustainable organizations and ultimately happy organizations that feel good about being part of the Vainglory community.
Do you think the mobile esports scene will grow now that you guys have established yourselves and shown people that what can be done? You know, do you think there'll be other mobile esports games that will join you, and are you working on some as well?
Yeah, so mobile esports is still very young across the board. Like in some ways, we're today the biggest and fastest growing, but we're still so early. It's a bit like being the biggest and fastest growing esport in 1997 on PC. Like, I mean, it's just early, right? We do think that there's enormous potential, because if you think of the PC competitive gaming community of hundreds of millions of players, off the back of a total install base of maybe 700 or 800 million PCs altogether that can play games on the planet. By the end of this year, you'll have more than 3 billion touchscreens that can play a game like Vainglory. So sort of mathematically, we believe that somebody's going to figure out how to create communities and how to work with, like, how ultimately to create something that turns out to be a phenomenon that gets played by hundreds of millions, who knows, maybe up to 1 billion people one day in 5 or 10 years time from now. So whether that's us or somebody else that does an even better job at creating a great competitive game on touch, we'll see. But we definitely think that the seeds of growth are there, and there's an incredible opportunity one way or the other. But it does require us to create a game that ultimately gamers respect and want to play. And I think as a mobile gaming industry, we've done a terrible job at that in the past. And like, I think with Vainglory, we're really going all out to prove that you can make games that are worthy of core gamers' time and competitive gaming as a whole, and we've got to keep that up. And if other developers want to kind of be part of this type of a competitive scene, they got to do the same. You can't just assume that just by putting on some competitions that you will become a sort of quote-unquote esport. You just got to work with the community and hope that they pick up your game in a way that is competitively viable.
Sure. And finally, as you're from Super Evil Megacorp, could you give us your best Super Evil Mega face into the camera?
All right.
Thanks very much.